Before there were computers, she wrote the first computer program in history. She predicted artificial intelligence in 1843, 130 years before the term was coined. Her work was published under 3 initials. Her program was called Clerical Assistance, and men spent the next century and a half debating whether she actually understood what she wrote. Meet Ada Lovelace. Augusta Ada Byron was born on December 10, 1815, in London. Her father was Lord Byron, poet, celebrity, and the most famous bad boy of the 19th century. He kept a tame bear in his college rooms. He had affairs across Europe. He wrote verse that made women faint in drawing rooms. When Ada was 5 weeks old, her mother took her and left. Byron signed the separation papers, packed his bags, and walked out of England forever. Ada never saw her father again. He kept a picture of her on his desk. He mentioned her in his poetry. He died in Greece when she was 8 years old, fighting in a war he had no military training for. This was the man whose blood ran in her veins. Her mother, Anne Isabella Milbank, was the opposite of everything Byron represented. She was a mathematician. She was religious. She was proper. Byron called her the Princess of Parallelograms, an insult disguised as a pet name. Lady Byron was terrified that Ada would inherit her father's wildness, his madness, his poetic self-destruction. So she force-fed the girl mathematics. Not as a gift, as a vaccine. Lady Byron was not warm. She left Ada with governesses and grandmothers while she pursued health cures. In one letter to Ada's grandmother, she referred to her daughter like this: "I talk to it for your satisfaction, not my own, and shall be very glad when you have it under your own." It, her only child. She also hired friends to spy on teenage Ada, watching for any sign of moral deviation. Ada called these watchers the Furies. She was not joking. And yet, the mathematics took. At 12 years old, Ada decided she wanted to fly. She did not daydream about it. She approached it methodically. She studied bird anatomy. She calculated wing-to-body ratios. She tested materials: paper, oiled silk, wires, feathers. She designed a steam-powered flying machine. She wrote a book she called Flyology, with plates and diagrams. She was 12. She was an engineer a century before the word existed. Then came the measles. Ada was bedridden for 3 years. She lost the ability to walk. She recovered slowly, on crutches, with time to think and study and grow sharper. When she emerged at 17, she was presented at court and became a popular belle of the season, not just because of her title, but because of her mind. People described her as brilliant. One unimpressed observer called her, quote, "a large, coarse-skinned young woman, but with something of my friend's features, particularly the mouth." This would not be the last time a man described Ada Lovelace primarily by what she inherited from a man. On June 5, 1833, Ada attended a party at the home of Charles Babbage. He was a 41-year-old mathematician and inventor. He had built a contraption he called the difference engine, a 2-foot-high brass machine with 2,000 moving parts, cranked by hand, that could calculate mathematical tables automatically. Ada's mother called it a thinking machine. Ada did not just admire it, she understood it. While other society girls nodded politely, she asked for the blueprints. Babbage, shocked that a 17-year-old girl got it immediately, invited her back. He called her the Lady Fairy. He would later call her the Enchantress of Number. He meant both as compliments. He never quite understood how condescending they were. Ada married William King in 1835. He was open-minded, decent, and seemed genuinely to respect her mind. Over 4 years, she had 3 children and managed a large household. Most women of her class would have accepted this as their entire life. Ada did not. In 1839, within months of her 3rd child's birth, she announced she was returning to mathematics. She began studying under Augustus de Morgan, a professor at University College London. She wrote to Babbage. She was, as she put it, getting serious again. And then, in 1842, the opening arrived. Charles Babbage had traveled to Turin, Italy, to lecture about his new invention, the analytical engine. This was not just a calculator. This was a design for a fully programmable, general-purpose computer made of brass and steam, a century before Alan Turing. Babbage, however, never published a word about it. An Italian military engineer named Luigi Menabrea attended Babbage's lectures, took notes, and published a paper in French describing what he had seen. Ada read it. She decided to translate it into English. The translation, by itself, would have been a useful piece of scholarly work. What Ada produced was something entirely different. Her translation ran to approximately 20,000 words. Her notes, her own thoughts, explanations, and expansions, ran 3 times longer than the original. When the work was published in 1843, it appeared not under her name, but under her initials, AAL. A woman's full name on a scientific paper would have been scandalous. 3 letters could slip past. 7 notes, labeled A through G. Note A established that the analytical engine was not just a calculator. It could process any symbols, not just numbers. Note D explained how operating cards and variable cards work together, the control flow of programming, described 40 years before anyone else would articulate it. And Note G contained a step-by-step sequence of operations for computing Bernoulli numbers on the analytical engine. It handled loops. It handled conditionals. It handled variable storage. It was, by any modern definition, a computer program, the first one ever published. Ada wrote it. The algorithm is hers. Here is what she saw that nobody else saw. Not Babbage, not Menabrea, not anyone at the Royal Society. She understood that a machine that processes symbols can process anything representable as symbols. The engine, she wrote, might compose elaborate and scientific pieces of music of any degree of complexity or extent. She predicted generative art. She predicted artificial intelligence. She saw that computing was not about numbers, it was about information. She was 27 years old. Charles Dickens was still publishing serial novels. The telegraph was a year old. Ada Lovelace looked at a brass box that did not exist yet and described the digital century. Her reward? Babbage wanted editorial control. He insisted on writing a preface attacking the British government for underfunding him. Ada refused. He pushed. She held the line. The paper was published, and Babbage's relationship with Ada never fully recovered. He had found a mind that matched his, and when it disagreed with him, he was not gracious about it. And then she fell. Beginning in the 1840s, Ada developed a compulsive gambling habit, horse racing specifically. She approached it the way she approached flying machines and computing engines, methodically. She attempted to build a mathematical system to beat the horses. She formed a syndicate. She bet thousands of pounds, some of it her husband's money, some of it borrowed secretly. She lost. She lost badly. She pawned the Lovelace family jewels, twice, and had to confess to her husband to get them back. Babbage, impossibly, got pulled in. She asked him for help with the betting calculations. She lost more. The woman who wrote the first computer program tried to algorithmically defeat British horse racing. The horses did not cooperate. Mathematics failed her. Not because the math was wrong, because the world is messier than any algorithm can capture. And Ada, who understood the limits of machines more clearly than anyone of her century, could not see the limits of her own desperation. Her health collapsed. In 1851, she was diagnosed with uterine cancer. She underwent surgeries. She was bled. She was dosed with opium. Nothing worked. On November 27, 1852, Augusta Ada King, Countess of Lovelace, died. She was 36 years old, precisely the age at which Lord Byron had died in Greece. The mother who feared her father's blood would claim her daughter was, in the end, right about the timeline and wrong about the method. Byron died charging into a war he had no business fighting. Ada died in a bed in Marylebone, asking to be buried next to him. She had never met her father. She had seen his portrait once, on her 20th birthday. She had read his poetry. She had lived her entire life under the shadow of a man who could not be bothered to fight for custody. And at the end, she asked to be laid in the Byron family vault, next to the father who abandoned her at 5 weeks old. The two of them, the poet and the programmer, the celebrity and the analyst, share a grave in a church in Nottinghamshire. Neither chose the other. Both are stuck there forever. In the 1950s, Alan Turing, the man who built the first electronic computer, read Ada Lovelace's notes and argued with her across a century. He disagreed with her statement that computers could not originate anything. She had written famously, "The analytical engine has no pretensions whatever to originate anything. It can do whatever we know how to order it to perform." Turing called this Lady Lovelace's objection. He spent pages of his seminal paper on artificial intelligence responding to it. He took her seriously enough to fight with her. That is how strong her argument was. A woman dead for 100 years was Turing's primary intellectual opponent. Then, in the 1970s, the U.S. Department of Defense named its new standardized programming language ADA, the largest software project in the world at the time. The manual cited her as the inspiration. And yet, computer science textbooks through the 1990s regularly described her as Babbage's assistant, a translator, someone who merely cleaned up his notes. A widely read paper from 1990 argued that Babbage essentially wrote Note G. Ada just transcribed it. The men who built computer science as a profession could not stomach the idea that the field had been founded by a woman, so they rewrote the founding. The correction has been slow. In 2009, a non-profit founded Ada Lovelace Day, the second Tuesday in October, to celebrate women in STEM. Walter Isaacson's 2014 book, The Innovators, gave her a full chapter, though it still debated precisely how much credit she deserved. In 2015, her bicentennial was marked with lectures, exhibits, and a BBC documentary. The programming language ADA is still in use. You have almost certainly flown on a plane controlled by code written in Ada. She wrote the first algorithm for a machine that would not be built for a century. She predicted artificial intelligence while Charles Dickens was still writing serials. She was published under 3 letters, dismissed as a translator, buried alongside the father who left her at 5 weeks old, and argued over by men for 150 years. She was forgotten. Not anymore. Follow for a new forgotten woman every single day.